You notice the stage before you notice anything else. It sits higher than the floor, just enough to separate. Lights hang above it, already on. Not bright, warm, ready. The room is quiet, but it does not feel empty. It feels paused. Rows of seats face the same direction. Every chair knows where to look. The floor is clean. The walls are dark. Sound feels controlled here. Even small movements seem planned. A step echoes, but softly. Nothing interrupts the mood. There is no one on stage yet. Still, the stage feels occupied, like something has already happened here many times before. Like the space remembers. You can imagine where someone will stand. You can imagine when the lights will shift. You can imagine when the room will respond. The microphone waits. It is centered, adjusted to the right height, not too close, not too far. It does not look like a tool. It looks like a promise, something meant to be used. The seats are comfortable, soft enough to stay in, wide enough to relax. This is not a place built for restlessness. It is built for attention, built to hold people still without asking them to be still. Time feels different here. There are no clocks in sight, no windows to check the outside world. The room decides when things begin and when they end. You notice how easy it is to imagine yourself listening, not questioning, just receiving. The stage does not explain itself. It does not need to. It feels familiar, even if you have never been here before. There are small details meant to guide emotion. The color of the lights, the distance between the stage and the first row, the way the ceiling curves sound forward. None of it feels accidental. This room is designed for a voice. Not just any voice. A voice that knows when to pause, when to soften, when to rise. A voice that understands timing. Nothing has been said yet. No message, no belief. Still, something is already happening. The room is preparing you to feel something together with others, to follow a rhythm, to respond at the right moments. Before a single word is spoken, the stage has already begun its work. Before anyone speaks, a role is already waiting. This is where Carl Jung would pay attention. Not to the message, but to the mask that delivers it. Jung believed people learn how to present themselves to the world. He called this the persona. It is not a lie, it is a role, a way to be accepted, a way to be trusted. On a stage like this, the persona matters more than the person. The lights shape the role first. They soften the face, they hide tiredness, they add calm. Clothing does the rest. Nothing too sharp, nothing too loud, familiar enough to feel safe, different enough to feel special. Voice follows. Not rushed, not flat, measured, certain. Pauses placed carefully, silence used like punctuation. Jung would notice how the voice does not sound like casual speech. It sounds practiced but not forced, natural but prepared. The persona here is not about ego, it is about comfort. People relax when they recognize the role. They know how to respond, when to nod, when to smile, when to feel moved. The role carries the weight, so the audience does not have to. Behind the persona, other parts stay hidden. Doubt, fear, confusion, fatigue. Those do not belong on stage. They are pushed aside, not because they are bad, but because they break the rhythm. Jung would notice how easily the audience participates in this. They project meaning onto the role, wisdom, strength, clarity, not because they have checked, but because the role feels right. The stage helps, the lights help, the silence helps. When the persona holds, belief feels smooth. There are no sharp edges, no interruptions. Everything flows in one direction. Jung never said the persona was wrong. He warned what happens when people forget it is a mask, when the role becomes the whole self, when the performance becomes identity. On this stage, the persona is powerful because it is expected. It fits the room, it fits the mood, it feels familiar. And when something feels familiar, people stop asking where it came from. At some point, the performance begins to feel like truth. This is where Friedrich Nietzsche would grow attentive. Not suspicious, just curious. Nietzsche listened for tone, for certainty, for how easily words like right, good, and true appeared. On a stage like this, those words arrive softly. They do not argue, they reassure. When a message is delivered with calm confidence, it feels settled, finished. People relax into it. They stop holding their own questions. They allow the voice in front of them to carry the weight. Morality here is not strict. It is gentle. It wraps itself in kindness, in care, in concern. That makes it hard to resist. When something sounds loving, doubting it can feel cold. Nietzsche would notice how sincerity becomes part of the performance, the pauses, the softened voice, the moments of emotion. They all signal honesty. They say, "This matters." And when something feels sincere, it feels safe to trust. You would also notice how easily stories of goodness replace the need to check. If the intention sounds pure, the result feels justified. If the tone feels right, the meaning feels right. This is not deception, it is comfort. People want to believe that what they hear is true. It feels lighter than carrying doubt. It feels kinder than questioning. Nietzsche warned that morality can become a shield, not to hide harm, but to protect certainty. When people believe they are on the right side, they stop looking closely. On the stage, sincerity is powerful. It smooths over gaps. It fills silence. It makes belief feel natural instead of chosen. The audience does not feel manipulated. They feel guided. They feel understood. And when people understood, understood, they listen more closely. Nietzsche would not interrupt the moment. He would simply observe how morality, when delivered as performance, becomes easier to accept than to examine. And once acceptance settles in, questioning begins to feel unnecessary. At this point, the performance no longer matters on its own. This is where Niccolò Machiavelli would stop listening to the words and start watching what happens next. Power does not live in the message, it lives in the response. Who stays quiet? Who leans forward? Who gives time? Who gives attention? Who rearranges their life around the rhythm of the stage? The performer does not need to demand anything. The stage has already done that work. Lights focus attention. Sound directs emotion. Timing controls pace. The room decides when to feel and when to pause. Power flows smoothly when resistance feels out of place. Machiavelli understood that the strongest power rarely looks forceful. It looks natural. It feels deserved. When people trust the performance, power does not need to explain itself. You would notice how authority settles in without being announced. The voice on stage becomes the reference point, not because it is louder, but because it is centered. Everything else adjusts around it. The audience begins to mirror the rhythm. Applause comes together. Silence arrives together. Agreement feels shared. When many people respond at once, individual judgment softens. Power grows not by pressure, but by alignment. Machiavelli would also watch what the stage allows. Some questions never appear. Some doubts never surface. Not because they are forbidden, but because they would break the flow. Power protects itself by keeping the rhythm intact. The performer does not need to threaten. The setting already filters behavior. Those who fit stay comfortable. Those who resist feel out of place. No one is pushed out, they simply drift away. This is how power prefers to work. Quietly, efficiently, without confrontation. When belief is delivered as performance, influence spreads without effort. Machiavelli would not call this manipulation. He would call it effective design. The room, the timing, the tone, and the attention all work together. Once power reaches this stage, it becomes self-sustaining. The performance continues, the audience returns, the system repeats. And because it feels voluntary, power rarely has to defend itself. By the time the performance ends, belief is already moving. Napoleon Hill spent much of his work observing this exact moment, the moment when emotion turns into commitment without being asked. Hill believed belief grows through repetition and feeling. When people hear the same ideas delivered with confidence, warmth, and rhythm, belief stops feeling chosen. It starts feeling natural. The stage helps with this. So does the voice. So does the timing. Here, belief is not pushed, it is invited. People are not told what to think, they are guided toward how to feel. That matters. When belief feels personal, people protect it. They repeat it, they share it, they build around it. Hill would notice how the performance creates momentum. Each pause feels intentional. Each rise in tone feels earned. People leave feeling clearer than when they arrived, even if nothing concrete was explained. Belief works best when it feels practical, when it sounds like it will improve life, when it promises progress, peace, or purpose without demanding effort right away. The stage delivers belief in this form: smooth, manageable, encouraging. Hill believed belief needs proof, but not always evidence. Feeling can be enough. If belief makes people feel stronger, calmer, or more certain, it feels real. That feeling becomes the proof. Once belief takes hold, people begin to act on it. They return, they listen again, they adjust their time and attention, not because they were forced, but because belief feels useful. Hill rarely asked who benefits first. He focused on whether belief moves people. And here, belief clearly moves. It organizes attention, it shapes habits, it builds loyalty. What belief asks for in return is not always clear at the start. That comes later. Belief prefers to arrive clean, hopeful, and unexamined. When belief is delivered as performance, it spreads faster, it feels lighter, it feels shared. And when belief feels shared, it feels safe. Until the next observation.